What truly makes a woman stunning is it her face, her clothes, the way she walks. Most people think it's all about appearance. The makeup, the hair, the body, the style. But here's a truth most never hear out loud. Looks fade, trends change. Beauty gets attention, but character gets respect. And in the long run, respect is what matters. Real talk. The world has taught women for years that their value lies in how they look, that they must be desirable to be worthy, that they must be seen to be celebrated. But that mindset, it's outdated, it's shallow, and worst of all, it's disempowering, because a woman is more than what she wears. She's more than how she smiles. She's more than a number on a scale or the reflection in a mirror. A truly stunning woman doesn't just look good. She feels powerful. She moves with purpose. She owns who she is completely. If you stay with this video until the end, you're going to discover something most people spend a lifetime searching for. What actually makes a woman unforgettable, magnetic, unstoppable. And if you're already on a journey to become the best version of yourself, this is your mirror. Not to see your face, but to reflect your soul. Let's go deeper. Because the truth is, stunning doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't ask for validation. It doesn't rely on the world to say, you're enough. Stunning knows it already is. Psychology tells us something powerful, that humans are drawn to those who radiate confidence, calmness, and clarity. People don't remember every word you say or every detail of how you look, but they always remember how you made them feel. A stunning woman makes you feel something you can't quite explain, a mix of awe, respect, and inspiration. Not because she's perfect, but because she's real. She walks into a room and doesn't need to be the loudest. She doesn't try to outshine others. She doesn't compete. She just is. And that presence, is magnetic. Let's break a myth right now. You don't have to be born into confidence. You don't have to have perfect skin or the best figure. You don't have to have millions of followers or wear luxury clothes. None of that makes you stunning. What does? Self-respect, grace, depth, purpose. And all of that starts inside. You see, true transformation happens the moment you stop trying to look like her and start trying to become you. Your highest, most authentic, most elevated self. There's a kind of beauty that can't be edited, filtered, or faked. It's the kind that comes from self-acceptance, self-awareness, and self-mastery. It's the kind that grows with time, not fades with it. Every stunning woman you've ever met, the ones who left an impression, the ones who seemed untouchable in their presence, they didn't get there by accident. They built themselves piece by piece, day by day. They faced insecurity. They battled doubt. They learned to silence the noise and listen to their inner voice. And now they walk in peace because they've made peace with themselves. That is stunning. So here's the real question. Are you living as the stunning woman you were meant to be, or are you still chasing a version of beauty someone else created for you? Because the moment you stop chasing and start becoming, everything changes, energy shifts, people notice, opportunities open, not because you begged for them, but because you aligned with who you really are. By the end of this video, you'll know the 15 undeniable signs of a truly stunning woman, and more importantly, how to awaken her inside of you. This isn't just a list, it's a mindset, a transformation, a return to power. So stay with it. Because if you do, you won't just watch a motivational video, you'll feel a new fire inside you. And that fire, that's the beginning of a stunning life. The world feels different around a stunning woman. You can't always explain it, but you feel it. She might not say a word. She might walk past you without even looking, but her presence, it lingers. It shifts something in the air. That's because she owns her energy. She doesn't leak it. She doesn't waste it. She protects it like gold because it is. In a world that pulls people in 1,000 directions, a stunning woman is centered. She doesn't let the outside world decide how she feels inside. She's not controlled by moods, opinions, or noise. Her power comes from within. And that's why people can feel her power without her having to prove it. Psychology tells us that emotional energy is contagious. People mirror each other through tone, expression, body language. So, When a woman carries herself with calm confidence, the room aligns with her. She doesn't chase validation because she is already aligned with her own frequency. She walks into a room and she doesn't scan it for approval. She doesn't ask, "Do they like me?" She asks, "How do I feel here?" That shift is everything. Because most people are trained to react. They're emotionally exhausted from trying to control everything around them, trying to fix people, impress crowds, prove themselves constantly. But a stunning woman knows real power is not in control, it's in self-control. She has discipline over her emotions. She doesn't let someone's bad mood ruin her peace. She doesn't let small minds shake her big energy. And it's not because she's cold. It's because she's clear. Clear on who she is, clear on what she stands for, clear on what she allows into her space. There is something deeply magnetic about someone who doesn't react to chaos, who stands still while the world spins. That's not detachment. That's mastery. She doesn't need to shout to be heard. Her silence is loud enough. Her energy speaks before her words ever do. And when she speaks, people listen. Not out of fear. Not because she demands it, but because she has already earned it. Through presence, through posture, through the way she carries herself. She understands this truth. Energy is currency, and she spends hers wisely. She doesn't explain herself to people committed to misunderstanding her. She doesn't engage in battles that cost her peace. She doesn't lower her vibration to match the noise of the crowd. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. Society. It's knowing that every time you give energy to something that doesn't grow you, you shrink. And she refuses to shrink, not for attention, not for approval, not even for love. Because she's already full, and that fullness, that inner abundance, is what makes her different. She pours into herself first. She guards her morning like sacred time. She speaks kindly to herself. She walks away from things that drain her spirit. Because here's what most people forget. If you don't own your energy, someone else will. If you don't control your space, people will fill it with chaos. If you don't value your peace, the world will take it from you. But a stunning woman remembers. And that's why she moves different. She's not addicted to drama. She's not chasing noise. She's not looking for someone to complete her. She is whole. She radiates from the inside out. And that glow you see, it's not makeup. It's not designer clothes. It's the result of choosing herself every single day. She doesn't wake up wondering if she's enough. She decides she is. And that decision creates a vibration that speaks louder than beauty ever could. Because in the end, people may forget what you wore, what you said, or how you looked on a certain day. But they'll never forget how you made them feel. A stunning woman makes you feel like she doesn't need the world. And that's exactly why the world wants to follow her. Her presence is not an accident. It's the result of boundaries, clarity, and discipline. She doesn't demand respect. She embodies it. Because when you own your energy, you own your life. There's something rare about a woman who's confident but doesn't need to show it. She's not loud. She's not trying. She's just being. And that presence, steady, calm, self-assured, says everything without her having to say a word. Confidence without noise is power in its purest form. It's not the kind that demands attention. It's the kind that commands it. In a world that constantly screams for approval, silence becomes strength. When everyone is performing, a woman who simply lives in her truth becomes unforgettable. This kind of confidence isn't about proving anything. It's about knowing. Knowing who you are. Knowing what you bring. Knowing that your value doesn't increase or decrease based on who sees it. Most people confuse attention with confidence. They think being seen is the same as being secure. But real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need the stage. It doesn't need the applause. It thrives even when no one is watching. Because it isn't built on others. It's built from within. A stunning woman doesn't show up to impress. She shows up because she's already impressed herself. That's the difference. She doesn't need to announce her worth. Her actions speak it. She doesn't have to argue for her space. She is the space. She doesn't chase people. People are drawn to her because she radiates certainty, and certainty is rare. Certainty is attractive. Certainty is magnetic. Psychology shows that people trust those who appear sure of themselves, not arrogant but centered, not boastful but grounded. People follow presence. They lean into calm. They admire those who don't beg for attention, but simply exist in full alignment with who they are. A woman who owns her worth quietly is a storm in still water. She is both peace and power. You feel her before you understand her, and once you do, you don't forget her. Her confidence doesn't look like shouting in rooms. It looks like choosing silence when others seek drama. It looks like walking away when she's not respected. It looks like saying no without explaining why. Because she doesn't seek approval. She's already approved of herself. She knows the difference between fitting in and standing out. She doesn't shift to be accepted. She knows that anyone who's meant for her won't need her to shrink. She walks with her head high, not because she's better, but because she's free. Free from comparison. Free from fear. Free from needing the world to mirror back her greatness. She already sees it when she looks in the mirror. And that inner belief, that quiet fire, changes how she moves. She doesn't rush. She doesn't panic. She doesn't try to keep up with anyone else's timeline. Because she knows what's hers will find her. She doesn't need to chase it. She needs to be ready for it. That kind of trust in herself, it's unshakable. And it was built. Society. Built through years of choosing herself. Built through days of doubt where she still showed up. Built through moments where she had every reason to break, but chose to rise instead. Now, she doesn't argue with insecurity. She walks in alignment. She doesn't compete. She creates. And when people see her, they feel something different. Not ego, not attitude, but presence. The kind of presence that only comes from doing the inner work. The kind of confidence that doesn't seek to prove, only to live. The world teaches women to be confident through achievement, image, and success. But a stunning woman redefines it. For her, confidence is peace. It's knowing she's enough even when she's unseen. It's knowing she matters even in silence. It's knowing her voice counts even when she speaks softly. And when you stand in that kind of knowing, the world can't help but pay attention. Because in the end, confidence isn't loud. It's unshackable. It's walking into the world not needing a crown because you already feel like royalty inside. And that changes everything. She doesn't explode. She doesn't chase chaos. She doesn't let her emotions lead her life. Because she knows something most never learn. That emotional control isn't weakness. It's power. Silent, strong, and rare. In a world where people are quick to react, quick to anger, quick to spiral. She chooses mastery. She feels deeply. She's human, Eddie. But she refuses to be controlled by temporary emotions that can destroy permanent peace. This doesn't mean she suppresses. It means she manages. She observes before reacting. She processes before responding. She breathes before speaking. That pause, that split second of silence before action is her power. Because anyone can be loud. Anyone can lash out. But very few can remain calm in the middle of emotional storms. That's not a natural gift. That's built through discipline, through healing, through choosing growth over ego. She's not easily offended. Not because she doesn't care, but because she doesn't carry emotional baggage anymore. She knows her worth, and that makes her untouchable. She's not out here trying to prove herself in every argument. She's not draining her energy trying to fix people who can't even fix their tone. She chooses peace over pride. She walks away when it's necessary, not because she's weak, but because she values her energy too much to waste it. Psychology says emotional intelligence is one of the most powerful predictors of long-term success. In relationships, in careers, in personal well-being, and she lives this truth. She's not a slave to mood swings. She's not drowning in overthinking. She's not triggered by every opinion that contradicts hers. Because she's done the inner work. She's learned to sit with her emotions without letting them take the wheel. She's the kind of woman who can cry in private, then walk into a room with her head high and heart steady. Not because she's pretending, but because she's risen above letting temporary pain dictate her permanent identity. She's aware of what she feels, but she's not ruled by it. That's the difference. That's the power. Because when you control your emotions, you control your decisions. And when you control your decisions, you control your direction. She's learned that not every emotion deserves a reaction. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every moment of anger deserves an explosion. Some things deserve silence. Some things deserve space. Some things deserve to be let go for the sake of her peace. This is where her real glow comes from. Not from cosmetics, not from compliments, but from emotional clarity. She doesn't suppress her feelings, she honors them, but she also questions them. She asks, is this real or is this fear? Is this intuition or is this insecurity? Is this mine or am I carrying someone else's emotional weight? That level of awareness, that's emotional maturity. And it radiates. People trust her because she's stable, not robotic, not emotionless, but anchored in her values, in her healing, in her boundaries. She doesn't let someone's bad day poison her own. She doesn't allow temporary people to trigger permanent damage. She knows that her peace is her responsibility. And when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, she doesn't collapse. She adapts, she adjusts, she breathes. And then she moves forward with grace. This is the woman who doesn't just survive pain. She transforms through it. She doesn't just react to life. She responds to it. And that response is always intentional, never impulsive, because that's what strength really looks like. Not how much you lift, but how much you hold and still stay grounded. Not how loud you can shout, but how steady you can remain when the world gives you every reason to fall apart. Emotional control is her shield, her anchor, her quiet crown. It's the reason people look at her and say, she's different. I don't know what it is, but there's something unshakable about her. That something is everything. Society, she's not just moving, she's going somewhere. Every step she takes, every decision she makes comes from something deeper than impulse, trend, or fear. She's guided by a quiet fire, not for fame, not for approval, not for applause, but for purpose. That's what fuels her. While others chase attention, she chases alignment. While others run in circles, she moves in straight lines. She's not everywhere because she knows exactly where she's meant to be. Purpose makes her powerful. It's the reason she doesn't waste time. It's the reason she can walk away from distractions. It's the reason she doesn't settle. Not in love, not in work, not in life. She's not just existing, she's living intentionally. There's something magnetic about a woman who knows why she wakes up in the morning, who knows who she is becoming, who doesn't just drift through her days hoping life will happen, but builds her life from the inside out. Psychology proves this. Humans are wired for meaning. When we don't have purpose, we break. When we lack direction, we fill our lives with things, people, noise, addictions, just to feel something. But when a woman is connected to purpose, she becomes unstoppable. You feel it in how she walks. You see it in how she protects her time. You notice it in how she speaks. Clear, direct, focused. Because she's not trying to be everywhere. She's trying to be exactly where she belongs. Purpose gives her discipline. Not because someone is watching, but because she's watching. She holds herself to a higher standard, not to impress the world, but to honor her calling. That's why she doesn't burn out chasing everyone's expectations. She knows how to say no. She knows how to rest without guilt. Because she's not trying to do everything. She's doing her thing. And when you know your thing, when you're locked into your own lane, you stop looking sideways. Comparison dies, envy fades, jealousy disappears, because you're too focused on building what's yours. That's what makes her so different. She's not moved by trends. She's not shaken by doubt. She's not interested in impressing people who don't understand her vision. She's too grounded in something deeper, something real. And here's the truth most people avoid: without purpose, beauty becomes empty. Without purpose, confidence turns into ego. Without purpose, success feels meaningless. But when purpose fuels you, everything you do has weight. Every moment becomes sacred. Every challenge becomes a stepping stone. 80, a stunning woman doesn't waste time trying to be chosen. She chooses herself. She knows what she's here to do, and she won't let fear silence her or failure stop her. Even when she's doubted, even when the path feels unclear, even when she's walking alone, she keeps going. Because it's not about being seen. It's about becoming who she's meant to be. That's the power of purpose. It turns pain into progress. It turns waiting into preparation. It turns every setback into fuel. She doesn't crumble under pressure. She sharpens under it because her life has meaning. Her dreams aren't random. They're rooted in vision. And that vision gives her a reason to rise, a reason to protect her peace, a reason to ignore distractions that look tempting but lead nowhere. You'll never see her begging for someone to validate her path. She's too focused building it. She doesn't rush. She doesn't panic. She doesn't chase. She creates. She builds. She becomes. And people feel it. Because when a woman is aligned with purpose, everything about her changes. Her posture, her tone, her energy. She walks with depth. She speaks with conviction. She lives with clarity. And in a world full of noise, that kind of woman doesn't blend in. She stands out. Not because she tries to, but because when you live on purpose, your life speaks louder than your words ever could. She doesn't build walls to keep people out. She builds boundaries to protect what's within. There's a difference, and she knows it well. Because a stunning woman understands this truth. Not everyone deserves access to her energy. Not everyone earns the right to sit at her table. Not everyone should be allowed to shape her peace, her time, or her mind. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. She's not cold. She's clear. She's not distant. She's discerning. She doesn't cut people off impulsively, but she will walk away without a second thought if peace is being traded for presence. And that's what makes her different. She doesn't feel guilty for protecting herself. She doesn't apologize for saying no. She doesn't shrink herself just to make someone else feel comfortable. Psychology teaches us that people with strong boundaries have higher self-esteem, better relationships, and a deeper sense of identity. Because when you protect your space, you protect your sanity. When you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what builds you. She lives by this. She's no longer available for emotional manipulation. No longer interested in one-sided effort. No longer tolerating energy that confuses, drains, or belittles her. She knows what she will accept and what she won't be. And that clarity gives her peace that no relationship, job, or environment can buy. She's not afraid to disappoint others if it means remaining loyal to herself. Because she's done betraying her own heart just to be accepted. She's done sacrificing her needs to keep people who don't even value her. She's done explaining herself to people committed to misunderstanding her. That's the level of growth she lives in now. Her no is powerful. Her silence is a boundary. Her distance is a decision. And when she sets a boundary, she enforces it without drama, without over-explaining, without begging someone to understand. Because she doesn't need validation to stand firm in her truth. People may call her too distant, too cold, too hard to reach. But they don't understand she used to be too available, too giving, too forgiving, too open to everyone. And that version of her was exhausted, drained, and constantly questioning her worth. She had to learn the hard way. You can't keep giving to those who only take. You can't keep lowering your standards for temporary company. You can't keep saying yes out of fear you'll be left alone. Now, she chooses solitude over chaos, peace over people pleasing, alignment over attachment, because she values herself too much to settle for less than she deserves. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about making space for the right ones to come in. She's not guarded. She's protected. She's not defensive. She's intentional. She has learned that true love honors boundaries. True friendships respect limits. Real connections don't test you. They support you. So she no longer fears losing people by being honest. She fears losing herself by being silent. She's no longer emotionally available to inconsistency, no longer entertaining almosts, maybes, or some days. She wants effort, clarity, and presence, and she's not afraid to walk away from anything less. That's what happens when you rise. You start choosing your peace like your life. depends on it. Because it does, she has redefined what strength looks like. But not by how much she gives, but by how well she protects what she's given. Not by how long she stays, but by how quickly she walks when her soul is no longer being served. Not by how much she tolerates, but by how fiercely she guards her worth. She's not here to prove anything. She's not here to fix broken people. She's not here to make herself small just to be accepted. She's here to grow. She's here to love, but from overflow, not emptiness. She's here to build, but only with those who match her effort, her energy, and her vision. And if that means walking alone for a season, she's okay with that. Because now she knows. A woman with strong boundaries doesn't lose people. She filters them. And what remains is real. She doesn't build walls to keep people out. She builds boundaries to protect what's within. There's a difference, and she knows it well. Because a stunning woman understands this truth. Not everyone deserves access to her energy. Not everyone earns the right to sit at her table. Not everyone should be allowed to shape her peace, her time, or her mind. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. She's not cold. She's clear, distant. She's discerning. She doesn't cut people off impulsively, but she will walk away without a second thought if peace is being traded for presence. And that's what makes her different. She doesn't feel guilty for protecting herself. She doesn't apologize for saying no. She doesn't shrink herself just to make someone else feel comfortable. Psychology teaches us that people with strong boundaries have higher self-esteem, better relationships, and a deeper sense of identity. Because when you protect your space, you protect your sanity. When you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what builds you. She lives by this. She's no longer available for emotional manipulation, no longer interested in one-sided effort, no longer tolerating energy that confuses, drains, or belittles her. She knows what she will accept and what she won't. That clarity gives her peace that no relationship, job, or environment can buy. She's not afraid to disappoint others if it means remaining loyal to herself, because she's done betraying her own heart just to be accepted. She's done sacrificing her needs to keep people who don't even value her. She's done explaining herself to people committed to misunderstanding her. That's the level of growth she lives in now. Her no is powerful. Her silence is a boundary, and her distance is a decision. And when she sets a boundary, she enforces it without drama, without over-explaining, without begging someone to understand. Because she doesn't need validation to stand firm in her truth. People may call her too distant, too cold, too hard to reach, but they don't understand she used to be too available, too giving, too forgiving, too open to everyone, and that version of her was exhausted, drained, and constantly questioning her worth. She had to learn the hard way. You can't keep giving to those who only take. You can't keep lowering your standards for temporary company. You can't keep saying yes out of fear you'll be left alone. Now she chooses solitude over chaos, peace over people-pleasing, alignment over attachment, because she values herself too much to settle for less than she deserves. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about making space for the right ones to come in. She's not guarded. She's protected. She's not defensive. She's intentional. She has learned that true love honors boundaries. True friendships respect limits. Real connections don't test you. They support you. So she no longer fears losing people by being honest. She fears losing herself by being silent. She's no longer emotionally available to inconsistency, no longer entertaining almosts, maybes, or some days. She wants effort, clarity, and presence. And she's not afraid to walk away from anything less. That's what happens when you rise. You start choosing your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. She has redefined what strength looks like. Not by how much she gives, but by how well she protects what she's given. Not by how long she stays, but by how quickly she walks when her soul is no longer being served. Not by how much she tolerates, but by how fiercely she guards her worth. She's not here to prove anything. She's not here to fix broken people. She's not here to make herself small just to be accepted. She's here to grow. She's here to love, but from overflow, not emptiness. She's here to build, but only with those who match her effort, her energy, and her vision. And if that means walking alone for a season, she's okay with that. Because now she knows a woman with strong boundaries doesn't lose people. She filters them. And what remains is real.